Today on Nova Legends podcast is Yorktown basketball coach Joe Keimig, whose Yorktown Patriots are off to a great start, a 6-4 start, a huge win over Marshall, who won the Liberty District last year. Coach, nice to meet you. Thanks for doing this.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Julian.
Oh, of course. Well, first of all, last year when you took this job, I'm going to actually give your background first, and then we'll talk about that. You're from Middletown High School up near Frederick, and as a matter of fact, I think you're playing your brother's team next week. He coaches there. Is that true, Coach?
Correct. He's the head coach, at Middletown, where we went to high school.
Yeah. So. You went to University of Maryland. You're a PE teacher. You're at Waynesburg Middle School, which feeds into Yorktown, and also Kenmore presently, which also feeds in to Yorktown. Took last year off of coaching to get your master's degree. You'd been coaching at Tuscarora, not the one in Virginia, but the one up a little south of Frederick, and coached there for a few years. Coached at Falls Church for 4 years, and you had winning records in all 6 years of your coaching. And then, as I said before, came to Yorktown. Coach, did I get most of that correct?
Yeah. So I coached 2 years at Tuscarora and Frederick. Then did 4 at Falls Church. And then previously, in Frederick, I was at Urbana High School and helped out with Terry Conley, who, taught me a lot, was a legendary coach up in Frederick. And then we helped open Oakdale High School, which has been a perennial powerhouse in the state of Maryland the last couple of years. I think we opened that about 2010, 2011. So, been kind of all over the place, and I'm kind of the outsider of Northern Virginia. I didn't grow up here, didn't play here, didn't coach here to start, so it's been fun though.
Yeah. Well, when I looked up Middletown High School in Maryland, I've actually been through Middletown. Just somehow I got off 70 years ago, but I've been. It's a cute town. It's like got these huge hills or mountains right there when you go into town. It says in there that Frank Sinatra had lots of mistresses in Middletown in Wikipedia. Do you know anything about that? I just thought it was the strangest thing to ever see in a Wikipedia description.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. I saw that too, and kind of, was shaking my head, wondering where that came from.
Yeah, there's no reference to anything. It says lots of mistresses in Middletown of all places.
All places, yeah.
Well, anyway, how is the basketball culture different? First of all, in Maryland than Virginia, but also kind of Frederick's not a small town, but more of a country town as compared to Arlington, which is a upscale city.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities, a lot of differences. Football comes first from where we came from. When we were growing up, football was life. Friday nights was the biggest night. Everyone was in town. Everyone knows each other, but I guess in Arlington, that's kind of the same way as well. But basketball wise, it's blossomed, it's grown. Frederick High right now might be one of the top teams in the state. They got a bunch of players that could play at all 3 levels. So basketball's been there. Tom Dickman, one of the greatest coaches in Maryland at Thomas Johnson High School. He is been able to create a really good following for basketball in Frederick. In Northern Virginia and Arlington, I think it's still up and coming. I think there's a lot of good basketball happening, and obviously, Coach Dobson and Coach Bentley have been there a long time. So kind of that same feeling. So just different types of more rural to city like, but it's a lot of the same.
And you prefer down here than your hometown?
There's days I miss it. There's days I miss it a lot, but it's only about 45 minutes away, so I get back often and see my brother a lot.
Yeah. Who are your biggest influences in terms of the way you coach?
The biggest one would be Terry Conley. I was with him for about 5 or 6 years. He played at Shepherd for 2 years, and then he was transferred to Richmond and was on the Richmond Spiders team that upset Syracuse in '91. So he opened up Urbana, I think, in '96, and then I joined his staff in about 2009. So if you watch him coach, it's very similar to how I coach and the intensity I bring to each day and each game.
Yeah. So when you coached at Tuscarora, I assume you probably modeled a little bit of what you learned from Coach Conley And then at Falls Church. Now, Falls Church, you won there 4 years. That probably could be seen as a challenging demographic for basketball, only because you have a lot of high immigrant population that doesn't really value basketball quite as much as some demographics do. How were you able to turn Falls Church around?
So, I got very lucky. Jeannie Kelly, one of the best DSAs around. Her nephew actually played for Terry at Oakdale. Tommy Kelly, who's a great player at Catholic right now. So when I applied, I think she saw that school on the resume. And I've just taken what I've learned and the processes that we've done and implemented, that at Falls Church. And we got really lucky. My first year, we did not have a winning record. I believe we were about 10-15. But we got really lucky with the incoming freshman class that was big. They valued basketball at a high level. But we also had players that wanted to be good and that wanted to, invest their time into basketball. And we had Caleb Botts, who ended up being National Player of the Year his senior year. Great leader, great player. He kind of took ownership of his senior year, and guys really worked hard, and we ended up having some success after that. But it took a lot of time, a lot of effort, and the kids were committed. I think they were tired of not having the success. I think when I got there, they had won 3 games in for 2 or 3 years. In our first year, we won 10 games and then won 15 and continued to have success after that.
Yeah. Well, what kind of kids you get at Yorktown? And I know you know the kids well because you teach them PE and at the middle school level.
Yeah, the kids, the relationship has definitely changed because they used to call me Mr. Keimig instead of Coach, and the relationships help. But I think that having that prior relationship has helped us develop faster than maybe we should have. They're hard workers. They want to be really good. I think the previous years running the system, I think they're ready to go back to more conventional basketball. And they're tough. I mean, we have some really tough and strong kids that value what we're doing and really have bought into the process of, becoming not just a good team, but trying to be a great team.
Yeah. Now, Coach, when you kids develop differently when at the middle school level, you always have those kids whose parents were their little league coach. So they're very ball dominant and they're really good players. They don't necessarily develop into the best high school players. Something happens 8th, 9th grade, and the kids that become better athletes grow. And sometimes the players that were dominant when they were young, they could be sometimes a distraction because they still want to shoot the ball a lot. This was my experience when I coached many, many years ago. I'm not sure if this is the way it still is. Do you find that those relationships are difficult to manage when kids that you've known very well may not be the player they used to be, or at least they think they are?
No, I think, we have those hard conversations of what your role is going to be within our team and, the expectations we set, not just for one person, but for everybody. And we tell everyone you have to accept your role. And if it's not for you, then you might not be, the best fit for our program. And we have 14 guys that love our team and love being a part of it. And they've accepted each role. Some are bigger than others. But again, the support from our communities, the support for each other has kind of diminished that issue.
Yeah. Did you talk to Coach Reed a lot or at all before you took the job and about some of the personnel?
He congratulated me, but nothing about personnel. I knew most of the players and kind of, I watched some film previously, so I knew what I was getting into.
Yeah. So most of the players that you have, it seems to be, I've seen a lot of your games this year, and there really, to me, hasn't been a lot of surprises in terms of playing time. The ones that are playing well are playing a lot, and it's pretty easy to see from the stands. I think. Have there been any surprises that the kids that may not have played as much for Coach Reed or played more for you, or vice versa?
Yeah, we're super young. We do start 5 juniors. I think 3 of them were on varsity, but didn't get a lot of time last year. I think Jack Rubin played a good amount. And then we brought 2 players up from JV, Nick Sankis and Austin Barbieri, who have been great surprises. But our seniors, I mean, Tyler Bardash has shot the ball better than anybody, I think, in our district, in our area. Jack Russa had a big game for us against Marshall. I think he had 7 points in a quarter. And then Gavin Doherty is just, he's been a great senior, defending for long periods of time. And I think those guys didn't get the minutes that they thought they deserved last year and have really stepped up this year. And then, we got a great transfer, the little Ben, Jake Coolum. Ben was his older brother. I got to coach his oldest brother, Matt, who was at our Langley game on Wednesday. He's been a great surprise coming in as well.
Yeah, well, I go to a lot of Yorktown games. We no longer live in the district. My middle child just graduated last year, but I played at UVA JV with Paul Barbieri. We both would argue we should have been on varsity, which is definitely not true. But so I've really enjoyed watching Austin play. Then we live 2 doors down from Gavin Doherty. Love his parents, Artie and Dana. And then I coached David Maria when I was at Robinson. I was a summer league coach. So I have these interesting connections with the team, and it's made me want to go to a lot of games. And plus, you're playing great basketball. Andrew Maria as a player, he's a throwback player. Now nowadays, when you have kids that shoot the 3-pointer, and you have kids that drive using 3 or 4 Euro steps, and they get to the hole and no one calls travel anymore. Andrew is an old school player that he has the jab series. He slashes to the hole. He has an intermediate shot as well as a long range shot. He's a throwback player. I think he's a kid with tremendous potential.
Yeah, we love him. He's a gym rat. He's in the gym constantly. He loves the game. But again, if you watch our first game and the progression to where we're at now, I mean, he's progressed so quickly, and he's tough to play against. He's got a lot of moves. He has ability. He's been shooting the ball really well, but his bread and butter is getting to the rim, and he's a tough matchup. About 6'3", 6'4", athletic, but he doesn't take bad shots. So if it's there, he's going to take it. But he also finds that extra pass or that extra man. If Langley, he did a great job of finding guys. I think Nick Sankus hit 6 threes, and it was off of other guys helping create for him. And that just, is the testament to Andrew is, he could try to shot hunt and get 20 to 30 shots a game, but he does it with 10 shots a game or 11 shots a game and scoring about 17 points. So it's fun.
Nick Sankus was interesting because I felt like in some games we were waiting to see Jake come off the bench, Jake Cullum, because obviously he's a young player, transfer. He's gradually, laying claim to that point guard spot because he's a very, very talented player like his brother was. But Nick, his shooting was unbelievable. Not only did he make 6 threes, I'm not even sure he touched the rim in any of those threes. He was on fire. It looks like you're going to have a lot of options in your starting 8 or 9.
Yeah, Nick and Jake are great. They complement each other well. They both do different things very well. And again, they support each other. Obviously, I think you want to play all the time, but you need breaks. You need different games. You need different things, and they both accepted their role so far, and it's been great, and that's why we've had the success we've had.
Yeah, well, I think one of the reasons why you've had success as well. You're doing a great job coaching, and the players are playing well. But against Marshall is a team that completely dominated that district, the Liberty District last year. Most of the games they won by 20 points or more. I went to a few of them because my friend's son played for them, and they were always over by halftime. But Marshall had kind of a light schedule going into that game that you played. They hadn't really played. They hadn't really been tested. You guys had a couple overtime games. You had a game against Westfield that you probably could have won. You had a great game against Potomac. Extremely talented athletic team that you lost in overtime. I felt like you guys were ready for the pressure situation of a packed house at Marshall, and you got some 3-pointers from Brennan Pilot. I think I forgot the other kid's name that shot a couple threes. You got some 3-pointers. I'm not going to say from unlikely points of view, but it's great if you have guys that can help Andrew with the scoring, and actually really carried you guys in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, our schedule. When I got the job, some of our rising juniors said we want to play some of the toughest teams we can find, and I said okay, what that comes with. So Coach Mills reached out. We had an open game, and I thought that was a great fit for us. Just to play a Potomac team who I believe is a top 4 ranked team in our 6A. Westfield's great. We saw Broad Run twice, who looks like a Liberty District team that's going to help us get prepared for a Marshall or a Langley. And we're battle tested. That Westfield game, I think I would like to have that last possession back, with fouling the kid at the end of regulation or at the end of the overtime. But I think it unfortunately, no one likes losing, but I think it helped us grow. And it helped us prepare for those bigger moments and, the grind that we're going to face in the Liberty District. But yeah, those timely threes against Marshall, I think Tyler Bardash hit a big one, and then Brennan hit back to back. And Brennan's one of those kids, he might be the best shooter in the gym each night. And that's saying something when you're playing against Jose Fudd. And Brennan stepped up. He hit that, we had the lead, lost it, and then, that timely, he had a little bit of room and just drilled it. So
it is interesting in that if someone told me to describe you guys, I wouldn't necessarily say a great outside shooting team, but after watching you all year long, I think almost every one of your players is a pretty consistent shooter from long range.
Yeah, we're a tough matchup at times. It depends on the night. Some nights they fall, sometimes they don't. But typically when we have 5 guys on the court, someone's going to have a good matchup for us, and it could be, I think Austin in a broad run game scored a bunch of points getting to the rim, and then Langley, we just couldn't miss. So it's going to be a different night, but we got to find different ways to win, and that's what we've been doing.
Yeah, Austin's a kid I enjoy watching play. Now Paul was more of a shooter. He didn't do much else besides shoot, even though he's a really good player, smart player. Austin's a kid who plays with an outsized confidence in himself. I love the way he handles himself on the court. He throws his body around. He'll take big shots. He'll make the big pass. He'll throw the ball in under pressure. He's a kid who plays with a lot of confidence.
Yeah, and he can handle it. He's about 6'3". He can handle it on the outside, but he's also tough on the inside. So, if you put a little guard on him, he knows what to do, take him on in the inside. And if you got a bigger guy on him, he'll just walk him out to the 3-point line and take care of him out there. So he's a tough matchup. He's a great kid. And he's just fun to watch. The toughness. I think he's averaging about 8 rebounds a game. Being a little undersized at the 4 position, it just talks about the toughness of him. And same with Jack Rubin, about 6'4", 6'5". I think at one point they both had 11 rebounds in that Westfield game.
Yeah. Jack Rubin's a guy that you can't leave him alone either. I forgot to mention him. He's a guy that for the last couple of years he'll hit a big 3 on you. And it's often nothing but net. And it is great to see Austin do so well, because he really hit, like Andrew. He's a throwback player. So, well, let's look ahead to the rest of the season now. I would describe the Liberty as wide open. I'm sure Tony Bentley, my good friend, would say, hey, we got something going over here. McLean had been pretty dominant going into the Wakefield game. Took a pretty solid loss that night. What do you see when you look at the Liberty? Not too many easy nights.
No, and it's going to be a grind each night, and if we don't show up, it could be a long night for us. So we're actually hosting the holiday tournament next week, so December 27th, 28th. We were supposed to go to Middletown. Some unfortunate situations happened there, so they couldn't host, and so Yorktown's hosting the Ron Engel Classic, which I played in when I was in high school. So we'll be playing Brunswick High School on the 27th, and then Herndon will play Middletown, and then we'll play my brother's team on the 28th at 1:00 at Yorktown, which I'm excited about. And then we get Wakefield, which they're rolling right now. They got a really good transfer from Florida, the Carlton Young kid. He's tough, and you got Buck and Tony coaching. It's going to be a tough one for us to come out of the break with. And then Mike O'Brien does a great job at McLean, and they have a lot of returners, they have a lot of experience, they play extremely hard, and then I think we go into a rivalry against WNL, which is always going to be, doesn't matter the record, it's going to be a good one. So we're excited.
So Coach, I played against Bobby Dobson in football and basketball growing up. And years ago, I used to referee. So me and Bobby have been doing battle for many years. It doesn't matter what Bobby has; they're going to be competitive on the court. They've had some pretty good years the last few years. Hey, also, what are the keys to beating your brother? Now, who's the better coach? You or he's your older brother?
Yeah, he's a year older. We have very similar teams. So when they show up, they're going to look a lot like us. They're built like us. They got a player, that reminds me of Andrew Maria. A high level shooter, can get to the rim. So we'll see. We run a lot of similar stuff. So we talk every day. So we'll see how it all unfolds next week. So, but I think it should be a good game.
Yeah. Well, one thing it was good to see is the crowd was back at Yorktown on Wednesday, the
Yeah.
game against Langley. Yorktown, they've had some really nice crowds. One of the guys, Griffin Lusk, my son's soccer teammate, he did a great job getting the Yorktown kids out to support the team over the last few years. He graduated. He's at Clemson now, but it was nice to see the crowd back because the crowd is right on the court at Yorktown. So you're going to need every advantage that you can take when you're these next upcoming games. So hopefully, your team is catching fire, and you'll get the support that you guys deserve.
Yeah, it was good to see. It was a little bare the first couple games. But winning helps. And I think I also, mentioned to our guys that you're great students, you're great kids. People want to support you if you're well liked. But I also said winning helps as well. People want to watch fun basketball, and I think we're playing a fun style. I think, how hard we play, how tough we play. People want to come watch us have success and support us while we're out there.
Yeah, everybody likes a winner, Coach. So,
yeah.
Anyway, well, look, this has been great. Thanks for taking the time. It was great to meet you, and hopefully, I'll be catching more games. I'm going to try to get to the Middletown game next week. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, 1:00 at Yorktown on the 28th. So
that sounds good.
It should be a fun one.
Yeah. Well, I'll see you then, Coach, and have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you and also your team.
You too. Thank you, Juliet.
Great. Thanks, Coach. You're welcome.
Thank you.